Did everybody get their pink Post-it note reading goal score today? Yes? Okay. We will go over your reading goal score as soon as we finish grading the English homework. So is everybody already on page 54? If not, let's turn to 54 real quick and I'm going to call out the correct answers. Use your highlighter or your pen or your pencil, it doesn't matter. I want you to put a strike through it if you got it wrong. Leave it alone if you got it right. Okay, so we're only going to cross it off if you got it right. Okay, here we go. Hopefully we got some good scores. Number 1 should be C like cat. 1 is C. 2 is J like Jack in the Box. 3 is A like apple. 4 is H like hot dog. 5 is A, apple. 6 is G, gorilla. 7 is A, apple. 8 is J, Jack in the Box. 9 is C, cat. 10 is J, Jack in the Box. 11 is D, donut. 12 is F, French fries. 13 is C, cat. 14 is J, Jack in the Box. And 15 is B, boy. All right, so count up the number that you missed. Okay, you can put minus however many that was on the first page. Did anybody miss 5 or less? 5 or less. All hands. Very nice. Did anybody miss 3 or less? Okay, good. If you missed more than half, we're going to just need to practice a little bit more of those strategies, but you're on the right track, okay? Even if you missed half of them, you're still making progress from what your first score was. Cool. Let's see if we did any better on the next one. So we're going to turn now to English Drill 2, which was page 70. Come on. English Drill 2, page 70. If you're just joining us, we're grading our homework from Tuesday, and we flip-flop groups. All right. Show me thumbs up when you're on page 70. Ready to go? Very good.
We were watching you work here? Yeah. I thought we was watching a YouTube video.
Did you not see this?
Come on this side.
Okay. Yeah. On page 70. Weasels, here we go. Number 1. Number 1 is C, cat. Number 2 is H, hot dog. Number 3 is B, boy. Number 4 is H, hot dog. Number 5 is C, cat. Number 6 is F, French fries. Number 7 is C, cat. Number 8 is J, Jack in the Box. Number 9 is D, donut. Number 10 is F, French fries. Number 11 is C, cat. Number 12 is J, Jack in the Box. Number 13 is A, apple. 14 is H, hot dog. And 15 is D, donut. All right, so count up the number you missed on this one. Did we do better or did we do worse? Way better? The same? That's not bad. Not bad. Did anybody miss 5 or less? Okay. You need number 2? You want me to repeat it? Okay. So, do you remember the 4 C's?
Yes.
Did the 4 C's help you get those questions that you got right? Yes. Okay. Very good. What was, Jimmy, shout it out. What are some of the C's?
Concise.
Concise. That's my favorite, right? What's another one?
Complete.
Clear. Complete.
Consistent.
It has to match. Your past tense has to match past tense, or your plural has to match plural. Everybody okay? How do you feel about English? Show me thumbs. Okay.
Rhetorical is hard.
Rhetorical skills is tough. Remember I said those are going to be the questions you might not have time to answer. It might be a never question, and in that case, what are you going to do on the test if it's a never question?
Yes.
You just pick the random letter. B, anything that you don't have time to answer or that you say, I don't want to do this one, B and move on. You guys okay with that? But I wanted you to practice them because if you have time at 5 minutes remaining, if you have time, I don't want you to sit there and look at the ceiling and, oh, I'm good, I'm done. What? You have 5 minutes. I want you to go back to the never questions because we practiced them in the rhetorical skills, and I want you to get some of them right. Does that make sense? So if you have 5 minutes remaining, nobody's staring at the ceiling, right? You're doing it for me and you're doing it for you and your scholarship, okay? So you go back and you really work through the rhetorical questions. If it's an accept or a not, the scary ones, you circle the accept and then you check everything if it works, and the only one that doesn't have a check is your right answer. Okay, so let's see how we did. You're probably not going to do as well just because they're all difficult, but let's just figure it out, okay? Number 1, we're on page 86. Number 1 is B, boy. Number 2 is J, Jack in the Box. Number 3 is A, apple. Number 4 is G, gorilla. Number 5 is D, donut. Number 6 is F, French fries. Number 7 is C, cat. Number 8 is F, French fries. And number 9 is D, donut. So count up the number you missed. How did you do on this one? Like this. Show me your thumbs. Okay. Did anybody miss 3 or less? What? Y'all almost did better on this one than you did on the others. You should feel very proud. I am very proud of you. Excellent work. If you did not do as well, it's okay. Give yourself a breath because these are the most difficult questions. Very proud of you. Excellent work. Okay, so now that we've graded it and you know how you performed, are you feeling like you're going to do better on the practice test on Saturday than you did on the previous ACT you already took? Yes? Does everybody remember we are taking a practice test this Saturday at 8 a.m., right? Don't forget. If you forget to set your alarm, Miss Justice is going to cry, okay? Maybe. Just kidding. But I do need everybody to be here. The only way that we can monitor if you're meeting your goal score is if I actually see progress or improvement on the practice exams. Yes. Okay, I'll make sure that, Miss Andrews, if you're over there, if you have Dupree's post it and can bring it by, that would be amazing. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our goal score for reading. I want you guys to flip in your book to page 20. Might be 23. Let's see. No, page 24. 24. Okay, so just a reminder, you have scores that have circles and squares. All right, it'll say first round. The first test that you took, or the most recent one, it might look something like this. Remember, that means you got a 17 on reading, which means you got 18 questions right. And then our goal score is over on the right side. Your goal score is in the circle. We're going from a 17 to a 21, which means I need to get this many questions right. Okay, so on page 24, prior score, if applicable, is this one. Prior. Prior score here. Practice test 1. Practice test 1 is here. And this is also practice test 2. They're staying the same, okay? Practice test 1 and 2 is this goal score. Number of questions needed. Number needed is this one. You guys okay? This is for both test 1 and test 2. So in this example, how many more questions do I need to get right to improve? 5. Yep. Do you think with the strategies Ms. Jess is going to give you, you could probably get 5 more questions right on Saturday? That's doable, right? 20 questions? That's what your goal score says? Oh, good, because I was going to have a freak out. You do not need to get 20 questions right. Just probably 5. Some of you might need to get up to 9, but it's definitely less than 10, okay? And we can do this together. Did you get yours yet? No? Okay, I'm just going to tell it to you real quick. It's okay. Are you going to take it?
You need to get it. Must be
Okay.
mine is 32.
So we're going to do fryers for. And I don't get You think you can do it? Yes. Yes. Okay. So let's go ahead and flip into our books. Sorry. We are going to the reading section, which is on page 250. Okay? Now, for some of you, you might say reading is not my favorite. I don't like it. It takes too much time. I don't understand what it's telling me, and I don't have time to actually understand it in order to answer the questions. I never get finished. Does that sound familiar? The test is too fast and I never get finished, right? So let's break it down. Do you remember how many minutes you have for the reading test? You have only 35 minutes, okay? 35 minutes to answer 40 questions. 35 minutes, 40 questions. What does that automatically tell you? You have more questions than minutes, right? So you're technically going to need to answer 2 questions a minute to probably finish. But does that even count you actually reading the passages? There's 4 huge passages to read. But I only have less than a minute per question without reading the passages. Does that sound impossible to you? No. It's impossible, Miss Jess. I can't read and answer all the questions in the right time. You know what I mean? It's crazy, okay? So today's strategies are going to help you accomplish that and feel like you've got time on your side, okay? The best part about what I'm going to explain to you today is you technically do not have to read the passage. What did I just say? You don't have to read the passage.
So they're irrelevant.
Are you gonna eventually do go over all of them?
Yes, yes. Today English, yes, Tuesday English, today reading. Next week will be math and science.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Ready? Okay. The first thing I want you to know is that you're also going to have now, later, and never questions in reading. All right? So if the question asks you about the whole paragraph, like the main idea is, and you haven't read the passage, are you going to be able to answer that question? Probably not. Okay, so that might be a never question. You put a star next to it. If you have time after 5 minutes remaining, you come back and you answer it. Okay? But there are going to be now, later, never. The problem is, you're not going to go in order because the questions are not chronological in difficulty, okay? So take a look at the margin of page 250. Do you see the gray circle box here? Okay? No matter what, the ACT is going to provide you these 4 types of passages in this order. It does not change. The first passage you will always read is prose or fiction. That's kind of like a novel or a short story. It's fairy tale, kind of. So if you like fairy tales and you understand those kind of stories, which one are you probably going to do first?
The first one.
First one. But if you say, ugh, fairy tales just waste my time, are you going to start with question number 1? No. You're going to skip that whole passage, and you might start with question number 11. On Saturday, do I want to see everybody start question number 1 at the same time? No. On Saturday, I want to see you start with your favorite passage. So as I'm walking around making sure everybody's doing okay, if I see somebody starting on question number 21 before they've done anything else, I'm going to be like, yes, thank you. You know what you're doing. start with the one that you like the best. Does that make sense? Okay, so we said the first one will always be fiction or prose. The next one is going to be social sciences. It has to do with politics, anthropology, business, economics. If you like that kind of thing, you start there first, okay? Your third one is humanities, which has to do with all of the fine arts, like dance and art and music, that kind of stuff. Or the last one, natural sciences, has to do anything science related. Biology, zoology, psychology, all the ologies. Are we okay so far? Mm-hmm. Okay, so in your mind, have you already come up with which one of those four is your favorite?
Yes.
Great. Have you already come up with which one of those four is your worst?
Yes.
That is a good start. So here's what I want you to do on Saturday. When I say on your mark, get set, you may begin, I want you to work them in the order of your favorite to your worst. What happens if you spend all of your time on the first three and you never even get to the worst one? At 5 minutes remaining, B, on your worst one, and you already got all of your first three choices, you probably got all of those right, or a lot of them right, because you spent all of your time doing the ones that you feel confident with. Even if you don't get to that worst one, you pick B, who cares? You still probably got more right than you would have trying to do all four passages. Does that make sense? Okay, so spend your time doing the ones you can, and B the rest. Cool? Okay, so let's go ahead and flip it to 252. All right, I'm going to give you guys some examples of what all four of these look like, and we're going to answer the questions that go along with it, and then you'll have a better idea of which order you think you might start with on Saturday. Okay, so it's about to be story time. Miss Jess is going to pretend to be your storyteller. All right, here we go. The first one, prose or fiction. If you like it, you'll probably like this passage. Here we go. Alan's grandmother was readying herself to leave. She was, in fact, putting the final touches on her makeup, which, as always, looked to Alan as though someone had thrown it on her face with a shovel. What? That sounds okay. As Mrs. Mandel placed her newly purchased bracelet over her wrist, a look of troubled ambivalence came over her. Perhaps this bracelet isn't right for me, she said. I won't wear it. Waiting now for 30 minutes, Alan tried to be tolerant. It is right for you, he said. It matches your personality. Wear it. The bracelet was a remarkable illustration of poor taste. Its colors were vulgar and the structure lacked any sign of thoughtful design. The truth is, it did match his grandmother's personality. All that she did and enjoyed was tasteless and induced in Alan a quiet hopelessness. Does he like his grandmother or does he not? Oh my gosh, so sad, right? Now that we know that information, let's try question number 1. Alan most likely encouraged his grandmother to wear the bracelet because he found it colorful and approved its appearance? No. Remember, he doesn't like her, so he doesn't want anything to do with positivity. So what do I do with letter A? Cross it off. Letter B, found its appearance pathetic and wished his grandmother to look pretty. If you didn't read the whole answer choice, what would you have probably done? Would you have picked B just because of the word pathetic? But keep reading. Do we like the idea of him saying he wanted her to look pretty? That's wrong information. That is a common trick on the ACT. They're going to give you something that partially sounds right, and they're going to say, yeah, go with it, and you miss it. Read it carefully and make sure the whole thing fits. Okay, so what am I going to do with B? Cross it off. Letter C. He was impatient with his grandmother for spending time worrying about the bracelet. Yeah, he was like, gosh, come on, you're already been waiting for 30 minutes. It matches your personality. Hurry, right? Or letter D, he felt the bracelet matched his grandmother's right personality. No. That's too positive, right? What do I do with D?
Cross it out.
Cross it out. Best answer choice is
C.
Would you have gotten it right?
Yeah.
Great, I believe it. Okay, so far, how do you feel about prose? If you like it, you can get into it, you can understand it, start there, okay? Let's take a look at social sciences next. This one has to do with religion, okay? Oh, yes.
Can I use that one?
Yeah. Okay. Religion is so fundamental a part of human existence that one might easily forget to ask how it started. Yet it had to start somewhere, and there had to be a time when human beings or their ape-like ancestors did not entertain notions of the supernatural. Hence, the historian should want to probe the origins of religious belief. Underline line 5 for me. Hence, the historian should want to probe the origins of religious belief. Okay? It is doubtful that morality played a part in the beginnings of religious belief. Rather, religion is traceable to a far more fundamental human and animal characteristic. Storms, floods, famine, and other adversities inspired fear in the hearts of the primitive peoples, as well they should have. Curiously, humankind early took the position that it might somehow subject such catastrophes to its control. Circle control. So I'm going to read that part again. Curiously, humankind early took the position that it might somehow subject such catastrophes to its control. Specifically, it believed it might control them by obedience and submission, and by conforming its behavior to their mandates. Worship, ritual, sacrifice of life, and property became means through which early peoples sought to cajole the powers and avoid the blights and miseries the peoples dreaded. As Petronius and Lucretius's tradition remarked, it was fear that first made the gods. Okay, so if you like religion or you like deep thinking things, we're probably going to start with social sciences. Okay, so let's take a look at our question. According to the passage, natural disasters contributed to the development of religion by motivating human beings to acquire some what? Command. What did you circle in your passage? Oh, what do we think about letter A? Could be the answer. Okay, command and control, same thing. Ding, 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 ding. We could keep going. For the sake of time, we're not going to. But do you feel confident about command and control being equal?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Number 12. The author believes that the origins of religion are extremely easy to understand. If they were extremely easy to understand, would they be studying them for years and years and years and years and years?
No.
What do we think about A? I mean F.
Wrong.
Wrong. Okay, G. Should not be questioned by historians because religion is fundamental to civilized life. Okay, look up at line 5. It says, hence the historian should want to probe. Letter G says, should not question, should not probe. What do we think about letter G? You see how it sounds right, but it's actually the opposite? So would that one have maybe tricked you?
Yes.
Be careful, okay? Be sure you know what the passage is saying. The passage makes sense, the questions are tricky. Okay, so it's not G, it's the opposite. Letter H, are directly tied to ape-like subhuman species. Did it say anything about ape-like subhuman? No. Okay, or J, should be subject of serious historical inquiry.
Yes.
Line 5 that we underlined, the historian should want to probe. How do you feel about letter J? Better? Okay, so what are your thoughts on social sciences? You like it or you don't? Okay, if that one's yucky, what are we going to do with that one?
Last.
Last. You good? Okay, so now let's take a look at humanities. This will always be the third passage. Okay, humanities has to do with your fine arts, right? So here we go. I grew up thinking I hated tomatoes. I used to describe the raw fruit as tasting like curdled water and preferred tomato sauce from a can. But it was not by accident that the tomato rapidly insinuated itself into the world's cuisines after 1492. It grows like a weed, and wherever this weed took root, locals fell in love with it. To grow a bad tomato takes careful planning. Underline that sentence for me. To grow a bad tomato takes careful planning. What does that mean? Do they grow easy or do they grow difficult? To grow a bad tomato takes careful planning. That means they should be growing plentiful and delicious and healthy. And if I wanted to really grow a bad tomato, I'm going to have to think hard and make an experiment to try and grow a bad tomato. So how do tomatoes naturally grow? Really good. They're easy to grow. Okay, are we good so far?
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, careful planting is exactly what the North American food industry has provided. It has carefully crafted tomatoes that can be hauled long distances and still look great. The only casualty or bad thing is the taste. And it has done so for so long now that most of us have forgotten or never even learned what tomatoes are supposed to taste like. Okay, so are they saying that North America is doing a good job of growing tomatoes or a bad job? Very bad job. Okay, so let's look at the question. In the passage, the phrase careful planning in line 7, did you underline that? Yes, okay, good. Refers to the method of tomato cultivation that has F, allowed the plant to grow like a weed. Does careful planning allow it to grow healthy? No. What does careful planning mean? To grow bad, right? So what do we do with F? Cross it off. G, that it's valued appearance and durability over taste. Careful planning, yes, we want it to travel long distances, yes, we want it to look good, but do we care about taste? Not so much. So what does G tell me? Does it sound good or does it sound not good? North America wants it to look pretty and it wants it to last a long time and they don't care about the taste. What do we think about G? It is good. It's right, okay? Letter H. Careful planning failed to make the fruit taste less like curdled water? No, because it actually tastes horrible, right? We said the careful planning means they don't care about the taste. It could taste awful. Or J, made the narrator change his opinion of tomatoes? No, he thinks the same way that he already did. So what do we think about humanities? Do you like this kind of a passage? It might not be your favorite, but is it your worst? Okay, so you might do it like second or third. Yeah? Okay, and then the last one, natural sciences. Anybody in here a scientist or want to be or like science a lot? Yes, me too. Love it. Okay, so natural sciences is always my personal first choice, but it does not have to be yours. Here we go. It is further noteworthy that the terrestrial vertebrates' most significant muscles of movement are no longer located lateral to the vertebral column, as they are in fish. So how does a fish swim? Does a fish swim like this? No. Or does a fish swim like this? Yes, okay, so visualize when you're doing your science, visualize what it looks like, okay? Let's see. This trend in terrestrial evolution is highly significant and means that the terrestrial vertebrates' principal movements are forward and back, not side to side. The trend is well documented in the whale, an aquatic animal whose ancestors are terrestrial quadrupeds. The whale, in other words, has returned to the sea secondarily after an ancestral stage on the land. So does a whale swim like this? How does a whale swim? Kind of like a mermaid, or kind of like humans might swim. Does that make sense? So that's what the passage is saying. A whale has more human-like tendencies in their muscles than a fish. Okay. Unlike the fish, and in accordance with its ancestry, it propels itself by moving the tail up and down, not side to side. In a sense, the whale moves itself by bending up and down at the waist. Indeed, that very analogy is recalled by the mythical mermaid figure who seems to represent a human-like line returned to the waters secondarily like the whale. Okay, so here's our question. Which of the following best represents a general trend associated with mammalian evolution? What is a mammal?
Animal.
An organism that never laid eggs.
Okay, give me an example according to humans. Are humans mammals?
Yes.
Okay, so think about that when we answer this question. If it acts like a human, it's going to be the right answer. So you got to break down the question. You need to know what a mammal is. If you said a mammal is an animal, mammals are some types of animals, but they're only some types. They're not all animals. They're animals that kind of act similar to humans, okay? So, A, mammals, enhancement of bodily movement from right to left and left to right. Do we move like this? No. Okay, so that's my fish, right? So is that going to be the correct answer? No. Cross it off. Okay, letter B. Minimization of muscle groups oriented lateral to the vertebral column. Remember, we said this is fish, lateral, but the word minimization means what? I don't move like this. What do I move like? Is this the way that a mammal moves?
Yes.
Can I bend at the waist? So are these muscle groups being minimized so that I can do this? So what do we think about letter B?
Yes.
If I'm minimizing the way that a fish moves, I look more like a mammal. Are we okay so far? Okay, let's keep going. Letter C, the development of propulsive fins. Do I have fins? Oh gosh, cross that one off. Or D, secondary return to the sea. Am I going to eventually go live in the sea? Cross it. How do you feel about this one? So if you can visualize science, are you going to be okay? Is anybody in here going to do science first? Maybe? Okay, I like it. You do not have to, but now that we've gone through all four, do you have an idea in your mind of what you're probably going to pick for your order? So on Saturday, am I going to see you start with question number 1? Maybe. When is the only time you should start with question 1? If you like what passage? Which one is always first?
Fairy tale narrative.
Prose, narrative, fiction, right? What happens if you start all the way at the end at 31? What does that mean you like the best? Natural sciences. And is it okay to start with question 31? You bet. So however you like the order, you do that. Cool? Okay. There's a couple of other things I want you to note. Look at page 256 at the top. Okay? The only thing I want you to pay attention to are the answer choices for question 13 and question 14. Which one has easier answer choices? Yeah, so which question would you prefer to answer? 14. If for some reason your favorite passage has questions that look like 13, all of their questions look like 13, are you then going to start with your favorite passage on Saturday? No. And the reason I tell you that is because even though you have a favorite order, it is important to be flexible on the day you take your test. If your favorite order has awful, horrible questions, or they don't have a lot of line references that tell you where to go to find the answer, then save that one for a little bit later, okay? Be flexible. Have an order, but be flexible. You guys okay? Okay, perfect. So, we were gonna do a practice, actually I want to. Let's take 30 seconds at the top of 257, okay, literally 30 seconds. I want you to read the description for exercise 1 only, okay? Read the descriptions, and then I want you to label the order that you would do exercise 1 on Saturday for your practice test, okay? On your mark, get set, go. All right, everybody got it? Remember, there's no right order. It's really your personal preference. And now that you have that order, you can start your test, and it took you literally 30 seconds to figure it out. You guys okay? Okay, we're gonna go really quick now. Let's flip to page 264. We're gonna get to the meat of the information today. What I'm about to tell you is super, super important, and I wanna see you do it on Saturday during the reading test, okay? So 264, this is not normal school. Normally in school, when you're given a book to read, you get to annotate all over it. Your teacher wants to see you writing in the margins. She's gonna have you have a group discussion about it. Do you understand the content? Well, tell me about the characterization. Who did what? Who said what? Do we have time to break it down on Saturday? Not at all. So we're gonna do the opposite, okay? What I'm gonna tell you today, it's called a 6-step approach, is literally on step number 1. You're not gonna read the passage. Remember I told you, we're saving that for later, okay? The first thing you're gonna do with your favorite type of passage is you're gonna look at the questions. Don't read the passage. You okay so far? So I want you to look at the questions. What mapping the questions means, my first step, mapping the questions, has 2 parts. Mapping the questions means that we are going to put a star on anything that says in line 7. Okay, so we're going to put a star on line references. Okay, so you can take your highlighter and highlight that for step number 1. You're going to put a star on line references in line 52, in line 37. Star, star, star. You are also going to underline the lead words. Underline the lead words in the question. And you say, well, Ms. Just, I don't know what a lead word is. They're important nouns. People, places, and things that your passage is talking about. Okay? So I don't want you to underline nonsense. You're not going to underline things like what's the main idea. You're going to underline somebody's name, a date, a time period, a vocabulary word. Does that make sense? Okay, so first thing, do you read the passage? No. No, you do what? Map the questions. What's the first part of mapping the questions? Line references. Put a star on each one of those questions. And the second part is underline lead words, important things only. Are we okay so far? Yeah. So let's take a look at some examples. I'm going to give you 30 seconds again on page 266 to map the questions. Only on page 266. That means you're putting a star and you're underlining important words. On your mark, get set, go. On 266, so you're going to put a star and you're going to underline. How you doing, Dupree? I don't see you stars. Okay, great. Star, anything that says in line 5. Okay, perfect. So I want you to stop even if you didn't get it done, okay? And I want you to compare it to the page 267, all right? Did you put a star on 22, 25, 28, 29? Yes?
Can you repeat it?
Yes, so it's actually the page directly next to it, all right? Your page 266 should look like 267. So do you have stars on all of the ones that 267 does? Yeah. Awesome. Did you underline a majority of what 267 underlined? Is Quentin Bell a name? Yes. Is subjectivism a vocabulary term? Academicism, mannerism, do you think those are all going to be important in the passage? Renoir, Cézanne, modern, sculpture. If you didn't underline all of those, don't worry. It's just an example of what I want you to do on Saturday. Okay, so do you feel confident that you can map the questions well on Saturday? Yes, and what are the 2 parts of mapping the question? Star the line references and underline the lead words. Are we okay so far? So step number 1, questions only. Then step number 2 is going to be the passage. Step number 2, passage. But here's the important part. We're not just going to read the passage and try and remember details and maybe that'll help me answer these questions. No, 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 no. Do you remember that we already underlined lead words? So we're not reading the passage. We're now going to look at the passage. Everybody turn to the next page. We're going to look at the passage. We're going to skim it in order. And we're going to underline the exact same words from our questions. We're going to underline them when we find them in the passage. Does that sound like an easy to do task? Because here's why that's important. Watch me, don't do it yet. Watch me, watch me. When you underline the same lead words from your questions, you're literally telling your eye, this is where to find the answer. Okay, so you're not reading to remember the answer. You're reading to underline and tell your brain, I can find this answer right here. You have everything that you need to read above and below that underline and say, got it, moving on. Do you feel better already? Give your eye a tool. Give your eye the map, okay? So if you take the time to underline lead words in the question, and then you don't underline it in the passage, are you gonna, like, is that gonna work? You gotta do both. Does that make sense? Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna give you only maybe 1 minute. 1 minute, I want you to just skim. Don't read it to read it. Skim it and underline the same lead words from your questions from the previous page. Ready, set, go. Remember, you're going to underline every time you come across that name, every time you come across that vocabulary word, every single time. Okay, go ahead and stop, even if you need to completely finish, it's okay. But I'm going to remind you of timelines here for the sake of Saturday and every time you take this test. Mapping the questions should take you no more than 30 seconds. Do you think that you can quickly put stars and you can quickly underline things that are probably going to be important? 30 seconds, right? When it's time to get to the passage, you are only going to take 2 to 3 minutes max. 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, all you're doing when you're looking at the passage is underlining those same lead words. Do you have an idea, now that you just did that, do you have an idea of what the passage is about? Is it comparing two things? Is it comparing art? Yeah, is it comparing sculptures, modern type techniques? Okay, so you haven't even read the passage, but you have an idea of it, right? So in 2 or 3 minutes, you've already gathered what it's about. And now you have a map that tells your eye exactly where to find the answer to all of those questions, right? I want you to compare. Does your 268 look similar to 269? Does it look kind of similar? Did you underline some of the same things? Yeah, good. As long as it looks remotely similar, you're doing a great job. Even if you underlined too many things, give your eyes something to see, okay? The only thing you should be underlining is what you already did on the questions. Cool? Okay, so that's step 1 and 2. Let's move on, page 270. Step 3 is picking the questions that you want to start with. Are you going to pick a question that says, what's the main idea of the passage first? No, those are hard ones that we'll save for the end, okay? You're gonna pick ones that probably have stars next to them, because what do the stars tell me? Exactly what line in the passage I can find the answer, right? So we're gonna always start with the stars, cool? So let's look at number 22. Why did I start with 22? It tells me lines, right? 75 through 81. Am I only gonna read 75 through 81? No, here's my suggestion to you. Read 2 lines above, 2 lines below, give yourself a little bit broader picture of what that's actually talking about, okay? So anytime it says a line reference, 2 lines up, 2 lines down. Cool? Okay. The information in lines 75 through 81 suggests Quentin Bell believes that historians and critics, blah, blah, blah. The next thing, we're not going to answer that one, we're just going to keep going with our passage. Let's look at 26. According to the passage, why am I going to pick 26 even if it doesn't have a star next to it? Why is that a question that I can probably still do now? What's the first part of the question say? According to the passage. So if I underline the lead words in the passage, am I going to be able to easily find this answer? Very good. So use that to your advantage. Every star you're going to start with first, and any question that says according to the passage, okay? Renoir differs from Delure. Let's see. I remember it talking about it. Renoir and Delure is lines 70 through 74. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of flipping back and forth, page 269. Renoir and Demore in this slide are modern sculptors. Here's what I would do with my pencil. I'm going to put R out to the side, and I'm going to put the letter M. What does the M stand for? Modern. That's what it just said. Renoir is a modern sculptor. Okay? Notwithstanding the earlier time at which they worked. Delure is not modern. So I'm going to put a D and put not M. Are we okay so far? So now can I better answer this question? Okay, so I'm going to flip back, question 26. Renoir differs from Delure in that Delure had no inspiration. Okay, is Delure not modern?
Yes.
Right, not modern means he's not really inspiring. He has no inspiration. What do we think so far? Might be right, but let's keep going because remember they like to trick me at the end. While Renoir was tremendously inspired. Is Renoir modern? And modern probably means inspiring, right? So what do we think about letter F? It's a good match. And it's correct. I think. Let me see. Let's keep going. Renoir works is highly innovative, while Deleuze is not. Deleuze was a sculptor, Renoir was not. Renoir revered tradition, and Deleuze did not. Okay, so G talks about being innovative. Remember, modern could be inspiring, modern could be innovative. So technically, F and G could both be answer choices. Okay, and unfortunately in this one, G is going to be better. They chose innovative to mean more like modern instead of inspiring. But as long as you can identify in the passage where to find it and make yourself a quick note, you should probably at least get down to a 50-50. Are we okay? Would that one have been kind of a tough question? Yeah, and if you didn't like it, save it for the end, okay? Let's look at 27. According to the passage, Cézanne's work is characterized by, okay, Cézanne, let's look down here, they gave us our paragraph. Cézanne's work constitutes a reaction against Impressionism and the confusion he thought it created. He searched persistently for the motif. Cézanne strived for clarity of form and was able to convert his personal perceptions into concrete, recognizable substance. A return to subjectivism. pointless search for form, excessively personal expressions, or rejection of the impressionistic philosophy. So there is a line that talks about impressionistic philosophy that's not even included in this paragraph. While you're reading through it or locating it in the passage, you probably would have come across it. But again, this one could be another tricky one. So we would still try and answer it first because what did it say in the very beginning? According to the passage. You're still going to try it. If you don't like it, what are you going to do? B, move on. You okay? All right, so let's keep flipping. We're not going to try and answer any more of these. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of why these are easiest to start with because you've already underlined it and given yourself a map. Okay? Let's keep going now. To page 283. 283. All right, on 283, I want you to understand the difference between reading the passage and skimming the passage, okay? Remember, when we attack the passage in 2 to 3 minutes, are we reading or are we skimming? Skimming. So here's an example of that. Flip to 284. I want you to read the passage on 284. Go.
Read?
We're gonna read that.
Yeah, you're going to read it. Go ahead, go ahead.
Oh,
Right? Does any of that matter?
No.
I mean, maybe it will, but does that really matter when you're skimming?
No.
So if you're just reading the first introductory sentence of your paragraphs, are you still going to have a good idea of what it's about? So this is what I want you to do. When you're taking 2 to 3 minutes to read the passage, we're not reading it. We're looking at it just like this one and saying, I'll just read the first sentence. Now I'm still going to underline my lead words everywhere, but I'm not reading it. I'm just getting an idea. I'm reading the first sentence and then I'm underlining anything that I already underlined in the question. Okay, good, okay, good, okay, good, okay, fine. Okay, don't waste your time reading every word. Remember the blah, blah, blahs don't necessarily matter. Are we okay so far? Okay, good. So I'm going to go ahead and put your homework up on the board. Homework for tonight. We're going to check it first thing Saturday morning before we take our test. Okay?
Homework.
Do we know how long the test is?
Yes. So on Saturday, I believe the times are already listed on your packet from Ms. Andrews, but it should be from 8 to 10:20, I think. 8 to 10:20. It's not a terribly long time because we're only taking 2 subjects. What subjects are we taking on Saturday? Reading and English. That's it.
Homework.
English and reading. And then we're out of here. Okay?
Homework.
Homework. Here we go.
Yes. Homework.
Homework. Reading drill 1.
Together.
Reading drill 1.
I love the CEO. Homework.
Page 287. Page 287. Reading drill 1, 287.
Homework.
And there's only one other one. Reading drill 2.
I'm ready for war.
Reading drill 2, page 311. Now, we're not done yet. I'm just putting this up here because I want you to write it down. Remind me, when is this homework going to be graded?
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, first thing before we take our test, okay?
Alright.
Listen, shh. While you are doing this homework, I'm expecting you to do the strategies we talked about. First step, mapping the questions, but there's 2 parts. What's the first part of mapping the questions? Star line reference. What's the second part of mapping the questions? Underline the lead words. Are you going to do that for reading drill 1 and 2? First thing, how long should that take you? 30 seconds. What's the second step? Passage. Are you reading every word?
No,
Skimming. first sentence, but keep going. What are you doing while you're skimming?
You're underlining.
Underlining the same lead words. You're giving your eye the map to find the answers, right? Okay, next thing. We're not done yet. I'm so sorry. One last thing. This is super important. 293. Everybody turn to 293 real quick. 293. Remember when I talked about really hard questions? Sometimes the hard questions are the trickiest ones, and they have words like not, except, and least. Okay? Don't just pick B, because they're actually easier than you think. Okay? If you see a question like on 293 that says the word except, I want you to circle that word really big. Remind yourself of your testing strategy. The word except means all of them are right except one. And that one is your answer. Okay, so here's the strategy for it. We're going to break it down. The passage mentions transportation of bees by what?
River.
Bees by river. Circle the word river. All of them are being transported by the river except if you come across any of these places, you're going to put a check mark on it. The only one that doesn't have a check mark is going to be your answer, okay? So real quick, in Scotland, after the best of the lowland bloom is passed, the bees are carried in carts to the highlands and set free on the hills. They're carried in carts and set free on hills. River?
No.
Oh, leave it alone, okay? Keep going. In France too, in Poland, they are carried from the pasture to pasture in the same way along rivers in barges.
Yes.
France, Poland, rivers. What do I do with France and Poland?
Check.
Check, 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 check. Put a check. Very good. In Egypt, they are carried up the Nile. What's the Nile?
River.
A river. Put a check. Which one is the only one that doesn't have a check?
Scotland.
Boom. How